right, time for another edition of the KrakCast News. I'm here with Josh, Dave, Dr. Mike. Before we jump in, a couple of quick announcements. Thanks, actually. We got a nice note from Camilla this week telling us that she picked up the show when she was living here in Krakow. She's back in America now, and she's still keeping track of events in Krakow through us, believe it or not. So thanks for listening, Camilla. Also, I want to have
fake news.
Want to have a quick shout out to Marek, who I think from the very beginning of our show last year,
he put up the train link, right?
He has been, giving us comments and links on our Facebook page, like, as I said, from the very beginning. So appreciate that, Marek.
Yeah, and the rest of you put up some interesting historical context to our pieces, for God's sake. Put some effort in.
Just don't tell us how stupid we are all the time. We're used to that already.
Always good to get feedback, especially good feedback. So,
good job, Marek.
Thanks again for everybody. So a lot to talk about this week. Unfortunately, quite a bit of tragic news this week, starting with a storm, an incredible epic storm that hit Zakopane, the area around Zakopane, earlier this week. 5 people dead on both sides of the border, one in Slovakia, including 2 children struck by lightning, about 100 people sent to area hospitals. Horrible, horrible things. Not much to say about this, guys, I guess, but there is some interesting finger pointing going on in the aftermath regarding the precautions we could take and maybe some of the causes of the accident.
Well, a lot of people always talk about like how this happened at Giewont, which are like these tall mountains just outside Zakopane. You can see them from Zakopane. There's Wielki Giewont, so like the great grand one, Długi Giewont, which is like a pass, a long part between that, and there's Mały Giewont, I believe. And this is a popular trail for tourists. It's relatively easy to ascend, so you can walk up there. But it still is high up there. It's like 1,800 meters. And since it's so popular, a lot of people go there. It gets very crowded, especially during August, during the summer season. There is actually a steel cross that was put up there over about 118 years ago, I think in 1901, which has become kind of a tourist attraction as well. And since it's so crowded, it can be unsafe. And when you have a lightning storm or a thunderstorm hit, then there's a lot of people in a small area that really can't get out of the way. And as we know, mountains have a tendency for weather to turn very quickly. And apparently this was the scenario that it was nice and sunny and warm. And within 10 minutes, it got cloudy, it got rainy, and the thunder started hitting. So people didn't realize how unsafe it was. They didn't get out of the way. And then when the lightning strike started to hit, people were hurt. People were killed.
Now, in fairness, these conditions can just come out of nowhere, and within 5 or 10 minutes, suddenly the skies have changed dramatically. So we can't fault people for being out and about in the mountains.
No, it's an absolute tragedy. An absolute tragedy. You would have to question whether they need to review taking down the cross. I don't think Jesus would mind, to be fair. If it's that much of an extra risk to the situation, I have questions about this from the technical standpoint. Is there a way of making a cross safe? Is it air to has it got the correct insulation around it at the base? Is there any way of mitigating the risk here? It seems like it acted as, all right, a lightning rod. Fair enough, it's just Mother Nature, it's unpredictable. But, how far away would you have had to have been to get hit with the cross was there, and would you have been safe if it wasn't there?
Well, I don't think the safety would have changed if the cross was there or not. In fact, I'd say since the cross is there, it acts as a lightning rod. Lightning rods don't exactly attract lightning, but when lightning does hit an area, it tends to go through the path of least resistance to be grounded. So, if you have steel, metal construction, it will try to go through that to go through the ground. And of course, the structure is deep into the ground, a couple of meters as well. So you would hope that any electrical charge would be dispersed more generally around the area. But if you're close to it, you're still going to get hit as well. Then there's also the heat wave that hits you. So a lot of people, were partially electrocuted, also burnt as well. There was also another part of the trail where they had these like steel cables that people used to walk up that also got burnt and electrocuted as well. And when lightning hits, it also that heat and pressure wave can also burn and injure people. Plus, a lot of people got thrown around, so broken bones and things like that. So
Dr. Mike, sorry to interrupt. The Park Service, the National Park Service says that this cross is struck directly about 10 times a year. And as you said, it's been there for more than 100 years. And so if it was really a big threat, you would think that we'd have, seen other incidents of people, being hurt by lightning strikes, before now. If it is about the cross, why doesn't this happen more often?
But I think that area is going to get hit by lightning the same amount of times, no matter if the cross
But
is
this
there
was
or not.
obviously an incredibly large lightning burst.
This was an unusually intense storm and with a lot of electrical discharges. Actually, the last time something similar happened, I think it was in 1937, if I remember correctly, where also 4 people died during a lightning storm in the same area.
So it's
and it was
once in
also
a-
August.
It's a once in a generation type of weather event. I mean, you know, there's
Considering the sheer amount of people that go up there now as tourists, it's
It's
thankful.
massively crowded. Yeah, of course.
obviously our thoughts go to the victims.
More tragic news actually this week. Bad week this week. More tragic news this week. But this story has kind of a celebrity angle, a little bit of scandal maybe involved. Someone named Peter Wozniak-Starak. He's the son of a prominent lawyer from Warsaw. I think his mother was a model. I'm not sure. Anyway, part of the kind of the social elite of the country and very wealthy.
We're talking billionaires here. His father is involved in pharmaceuticals in Poland since the 80s and 90s.
So a few days at the beginning of the week, he went missing somewhere in the Missouri region, I think, on a lake.
On a lake, yeah.
And remained missing for a few days, and then his body was found, and it was confirmed to have to be him, the missing person. Dr. Mike, as I said, there's a celebrity angle because the Mr. Starak was involved in the Polish movie industry as a producer.
He had his company called Watch Out. He helped produce a lot of Polish movies, including a famous one from 2014, Bogovia.
Yeah, big movie, yeah, right.
So Gods, that was one about Zbigniew Religa, the first heart transplant in Poland. That was a very popular movie. He's also married to a Polish TV morning personality. He was known as a partier, a socialite. And when he fell off this boat, he had a passenger with him, another woman who made it to shore. This woman, 27 years old, not his wife. So, the gossip columns are really talking about
There's a scandal angle there.
some people saying maybe this was his half sister, but his half sister is slightly older and lives in Switzerland, so it didn't match out. Some people saying it's a cousin. Some people saying that it's a waitress that he was just helping, to get home from that night. And at the time this happened, apparently his wife was in the house, on the lake, with his parents. There had been apparently a fight in the family the night before. When they found the body, what's also going on is that the family has kind of taken possession of the body, saying that they were going to take care of the autopsy and all that, not the official prosecutor in the area. There's a lot of weird things going on here. Also, the family has a lot of influence, so lots of the social media outlets there block the possibility to comment on articles about this.
It's almost a Kennedy family compound element to this.
Sounds like it, yeah, absolutely. This sounds like a story that could have some more interesting developments over the next few days and weeks, yeah?
Juicy.
And the last of the 3 stories involving tragic events this week involves 2 cave explorers who became trapped in a cave, and unfortunately rescuers were not able to successfully get them out of the cave. Dr. Mike, what can you tell us about this?
I have something to say about this,
Dave,
actually. Yeah. I'm going to jump in here. What the fuck is going on? If the people want to go in there and save their friends, why aren't they being let? What's the government got to do with telling a bunch of search and rescue people they're not allowed rescue and search? This is what these people do. If they want to show courage and bravery and go and save their friends, it should be bloody well allowed. Morawiecki needs to stand up and say something about
the government was trying to stop them from deploying all these resources.
But the top, the Tatra rescue services,
the rescue mission, not that.
Basically said we're not going to risk any more people to find us, and they've also not allowed other specialist rescue groups that specialize in cave rescues to go in there. What happened is you had a group of 6 spelunkers last week exploring these caves. Wielka Śnieżka in Tatra, I believe that's what they call the cave. Mm-hmm. It's 20-some kilometers long. It goes 800 meters deep. It's a huge cave system, and it's only partially explored. They went in there, and then during heavy rainfall, it started flooding. After a while, 4 of them got out, but they informed that 2 more were still stuck in there. So the rescuers went in. The problem is that it's very cold in that cave. It's 3-4 degrees. They weren't expecting to find them alive. They had to use little mini explosives to widen these passageways, which are only about 20 meters wide to get to them. And the other day they said they were able to get a camera around the corner and find 1 body. And that's what we decided to call off the search and rescue, saying that now it's just about getting the bodies out, but they're not going to risk any more rescuers.
The cave rescue group of the Polish Mountaineering Association is in opposition to the TOPR's decision, and they want to be allowed back in there to help resolve the situation.
Yes, because even though they saw 1 body, the photograph though looks like there might be another body right behind it, but it's not 100% sure. So other people want to still keep going and still try to find out if somebody was able to survive or not.
Of course, no man left behind.
Devil's advocate here, Dave. I mean, you say that maybe it's not the government's business that these guys want to go in and try to save their friends, and that's fair. But in these dangerous situations, whether it's in a cave or underwater, top of a mountain or whatever, isn't it a legitimate concern that maybe sending more people into a dangerous situation can just cause more fatalities, more accidents?
These people, most of them start as volunteers and remain volunteers. A lot of them don't get paid at all for this. They're highly skilled, trained, and they've decided that they want to help save their fellow man. I think it's awful admirable what they do, and they should not be stopped from trying to get their friends out there.
I mean, these are people that know the risks are, but They have the skills and the experience, and of course they're endangering their own lives. But we do a lot of things every day, and trusting that if something goes wrong, there'll be other people there that'll step up and help us.
I'm reminded, I don't know why, of this awful story in Ireland where a car skidded off an open pier in wet conditions recently, and one of the children died, but I think someone died in the accident, but a bystander dove in one of the most dangerous conditions. All guidelines would have said he was mad, that he shouldn't have done what he did. But of course he was a hero. Come on, he risked his own life to save another. I mean, it's admirable, isn't it?
Let's move on. We're going to talk about Zbigniew Ziobro. Now, we talked about him, 2 weeks ago or so in a KrakCast profile we did. He's back in the news. Now, I would never, ever, ever suggest that Ziobro would be happy to hear about any of the tragedy that we just talked about. But, in fact, he did kind of benefit from it this week because those tragic stories kept news about him kind of off the headlines. Dr. Mike, tell us why he's back in the news for really strange and dodgy reasons. Oh,
yeah, the news cycle definitely benefited him because, as we know, the mainstream media here really wants to, make him feel the hurt, but they just couldn't, concentrate on him. What happened was, it turns out there was an informant and some screenshots set out to Onet, suggesting that there was some people in the government helping leak information to the government news agencies about judges and other political officials that opposed the government's changes in the system. What it looks like is that there was somebody called Amelia. We don't know who she was. Apparently, she's probably involved with one of the pro-government judges, and she was being fed information, like gossip information from other people in the government about what kind of judge was doing what, and then she would leak this information to the press or just throw it out randomly, anonymously online somewhere, just to give bad press to all these people. And there's photos where she actually got a little award, this like Hussarian, the model of a little Hussarian knight, where it actually says on the model, oh, congratulations for all your hard work, you did well. And the way that was stated the same way that a renowned underground fighter was spoken of after World War II. This girl who had been captured by the communist regime, but she didn't give out any information, and she was executed in prison. And she said you did a good job, girl. And this is the same thing that this girl is rewarded with. And there's a lot of the nomenclature that these people online were using sounds like the stuff that World War II freedom fighters. This
sounds like a case where there's smoke, there's fire. There's probably something to this. Onet didn't make all this up.
Well, they had screenshots of messengers and chat rooms where a group of people that call themselves the cast would organize okay, now we have information on this guy, now we have information on that guy. And what happened, this all got tied back to Deputy Justice Minister Łukasz Piebiak. So,
who resigned. Ziobro's bagman.
Who resigned today, by the way. Late breaking news, he resigned.
Yeah, he resigned. But he's one of those young guys that we mentioned during Ziobro's profile that, was very ambitious and very loyal to Ziobro. And Ziobro gave him a good position. And he was working with this unknown person, Amelia, to spread all this information online and to the media about their opposition.
We've talked a lot about the playbook they use when scandals erupt, chop ahead, get it off the news cycle as quick as possible. But I have a feeling this one will run and run because now the opposition, right, Mike, are tabling bills to separate the Justice Ministry from the prosecutor's office.
This is happening,
showing that this is proof that he can't stay out of people's business. And it is the case that this is really going to hurt peace. It's going to bring back memories of when the government collapsed, partially blaming Ziobro back in 2007. And will this lead, I suppose my other question is, to, even if peace win the next election, him losing the Justice Ministry?
This is very messy right now because Ziobro was back in 24/7, like caught basically trying to get like information or dirt on political rivals. And it looks like, in his department, they were trying to do the same thing. And nothing's been like directly tied back to him, but it looks very suspicious. So the media is definitely attacking him. Morawiecki as well. Now he's kind of in a weird situation. Morawiecki definitely wants to keep Ziobro down because that's his main political rival within their party, within their group. But he can't attack him too hard because, from the outside, it looks like he's cannibalizing himself.
He can backdoor him, though. He can feed it to somebody else who can attack him.
Yeah, and, like they want, right now, we're getting close to the...
back him now, reshuffle after the election.
Yeah, the election, so it has to look good. Vulnerable. And the question is, like, now when But Ziobro's got his own people in there, so like if Kaczynski tries to put Ziobro down, then Kaczynski loses a lot of influence as well. A third of PiS are behind Ziobro. It's messy, and Morawiecki is like in a tough position. The elections are coming around, so they kind of have to stick together. But Morawiecki is also demanding that Ziobro give some kind of explanation.
Is there any indication that this extends beyond Ziobro's house? This isn't a this isn't a PiS thing. This is a Ziobro thing.
This definitely looks like a Ziobro thing, but like sorry for repeating myself, saying I hate that. Basically,
LOL.
PO is trying to use this as some kind of shrapnel weaponry against the government.
So they finally have a real issue to run on now.
A hammer to hit them with.
Exactly. They've been reaching around wild boars.
Dr. Mike, if you're Ziobro, if you're anybody in PiS,
I think this one's going to run and run. By the way,
your government is completely dominant. You're going to easily win the upcoming elections. It's smooth sailing all around. Why would you engage in this petty, childish, cloak and dagger, ridiculous spy
Especially
bullshit?
Since like they make it look like this is some kind of authoritarian government thing. No, it's a bunch of guys getting online and spreading rumors around.
And what about this angle he's trying to play now, Ziobro? He released a statement yesterday basically saying, paradoxically, this proves what I've been saying all along about judges. I mean, this is an astonishing attempt to control the narrative.
How bad judges are. Yeah, look, they're all about dirt and gossip, and
we'll see how it turns out. But Ziobro wasn't the only politician in the news for stupid reasons this week. Beata Szydło wanted her time in the spotlight too. Now, remember, she's an MEP now, right? She's in Brussels now, having been elected in the last European elections. And she was here in Krakow a few nights ago. She was attending some kind of a meeting at Wawel involving Jarosław Kaczynski's grave, I believe. Yeah, sorry, Lech Kaczynski's grave. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But it was basically PiS people getting together to talk about PiS stuff.
So they're leaving Wawel, and she heads past the Sheraton. I guess turns left on Żerżniewska, right in front of Jubilat. She's going to turn right onto Aleja. She has a green arrow allowing her to turn right, and she does so, but instead of staying in the right lane, for some unknown reason, she goes over into the left lane, right in front of the path of a car that was probably going a little too fast, and rear-ends her. It's her fault. Even though she got rear-ended, it's clearly her fault. She gets a ticket, 450 zloty ticket, 6 points on her record. How stupid is this?
Yeah, it's like when you look at the video, there wasn't that much traffic that night to begin with. So it's kind of almost as she was trying to cut this guy off, or woman, whoever.
So she changed lanes without indicating.
Basically, she merged and she turned right, merged into a main thoroughfare, and then changed lanes to cut some.
There's nothing, by the way, there's nothing more frightening when you're driving than somebody suddenly changing lanes in front of you without indicating. It's a serious driving crime. Like
I saw the footage of it, and whoever was coming across the bridge was absolutely coating it. I mean, John says
coating it. I love it, Jack.
I mean, I had to watch. It was on loop. Someone had posted it on Facebook, and I had to watch it several times to even figure out what was happening, because this car just much as I'm kind of happy along with everybody else to mock the ineptitude of her driving or
she's not doing much for gender
she's not no
female driver
There's
jokes.
a history of driving accidents, but
well, that's just it. What makes this so funny and such big news is not just the stupid thing she did with her car, but Dr. Mike, she has a history of being involved somehow in other traffic accidents in Oświęcim, yeah?
Oh, exactly. What happened there? But she was as prime minister, then she was being driven around by a motorcade. And it was a situation where part of the motorcade went past, a car tried to get onto the road, and they claimed that they didn't see the lights and they didn't hear anything when the motorcade hadn't gone by, so they got involved in an accident with the second part of the motorcade.
She was hardly driving herself in a motorcade.
She wasn't driving, but it's just like there's been several...
Hang that one on her.
There's several incidences here of her being involved in a car accident. What's actually kind of funny, though, my wife pointed this out, there's a meme going around. Her campaign slogan for the last election election was "Spotkajmy się w drodze," which means kind of like let's meet on the road, because she decided, like, on her campaign to go out there. So,
Let's not.
Yeah, that's backfired.
are you out on the road going?
And going back to the Auschwitz accident, it's part of the weird thing about that is that, as far as I can remember, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like the investigation was very hush hush, like don't ask questions, and we couldn't give the media couldn't get information about the prosecutor's findings and whatnot. It was kind of don't ask, don't tell kind of thing.
The driver that was involved basically said that it wasn't his fault that he didn't hear the lights or see the sirens, but it was blamed on him, and he's taken it to court. The public opinion is definitely on his side, but the prosecutor seemed to be going after him, and a lot of people are saying, like, just let it go, just let it go.
Well,
Sound like I thought you were going to break into the Frozen song. And Dr. Elsa here beside me.
Let's move on to another politician in the news. Every time we talk about this guy, it's something kind of like sad or funny. News that this week a survey conducted asked voters, can you name the leader of the opposition, the Polish political opposition? Can you name the leader of the opposition? Only 19% of the people could correctly identify Grzegorz Zetnia as the leader, and just behind him, in 15%, the completely wrong answer, Robert Biedron from Wiosna, a different party.
That is cookies. Though I will jump in here, right? So the question there was not who heads. The question was like who heads the opposition, but Cetina heads PO, which is one of the opposition parties. You don't have a unified opposition here. Cetina would like PO to be the opposition.
Well, they are the main opposition
In
party.
a way, that's even worse, because out of the competition of a poor man's Julian Assange and himself, he's coming off second best here. This is ridiculous.
Like Cookies, who is often said to be like Peace's little friend or something like that, is also considered by almost an equal amount of people to be a part of the opposition.
Can I just give a certain English language media outlet called the KrakCast a bit of credit here, because we have been saying this about Zetnia since we started this show. He is an absolute non-entity, no charisma, no presence, no leadership, no vision.
Sorry, who is the? I'm not familiar with this person at all.
Oh, wait, sorry, I drifted off there for a second. You were talking about somebody interesting?
What is there? Yeah, he's constantly trying to get some kind of credibility, respect. PO is just lurching from one topic to another, trying to find something that they can use to get some traction with the electorate. It just doesn't happen.
He wrote a piece for The Guardian a while ago, and even his writing style is boring, let me tell you.
What, you fell asleep reading The Guardian? No.
Well, but Dr.
Dave
Mike,
reads it so we don't have to.
Dr. Mike, do you see?
You're always on this. You print that crossword off every day.
Do you see Zetnia surviving as leader of PO after the elections?
There's nobody really else going on there as strong as him. But the party.
Wow, that's a really sad comment on PO.
The party is definitely a disarray. We'll see what happens after the election. There's always that question about will Tusk come back or not.
But if you're one of the players, if you're one of the money guys from PO, he's had his chance. The party goes nowhere. How can you not flip the switch on this guy and say, sorry, next?
He's just so boring looking. He looks like your nondescript uncle from a network TV sitcom in America, man. There's just something about his big, stupid face that really winds me up. I don't know what it is.
It's like Morawiecki without the glasses.
Yeah.
One more politician in the news this week. Another MEP, just like Beata Szydło. This one from the Wiosna party. I think is it their single MEP in Brussels, Dr. Mike, or do they have more than one?
They didn't get to me.
Okay,
They definitely got one. Yeah.
Anyway, she says, Dave, this is for you because I know you have strong opinions on beef. She says that it's her mission in Brussels to reduce beef consumption because beef is what's behind the global warming problem.
Yeah, well, this is an old chestnut, isn't it? Livestock fart a lot and create a lot of methane, and we have to stop that. But you know what? Like, here's the thing, right? Whatever beef is not produced in modern facilities and grass-fed in the EU will just be produced in an even nastier way in Brazil or wherever, a clear-cutting forest in Africa, So why not focus on just producing lots of good quality beef? And, if we're ever going to solve climate change, I don't want to wind anyone up here, but, if you take the central premise that we need to lower carbon, we need massive technological advancements. There's no other way around it. I ain't giving up beef for nobody. That isn't happening, okay? And in Ireland, by the way,
out of your cold dead hands.
In Ireland, this is a huge political football, and I'll give you an example. I mean, the beef lobby in Ireland is massive. Like, the national herd is a source of great pride. Irish beef is wonderful. There's no doubt about it. We got the best grass, ergo we got the best cows. But our Taoiseach Leo Varadkar recently revealed that he was not going vegan but trying to eat less meat, and got absolutely savage. This was like what we consider a political controversy in Ireland. You know, the beef lobby was calling him out left, right and centre, you know, to the point where he's dropping in little comments about eating a nice Hereford steak last night and everything. So yeah.
Oh God, meat turns me on more than porn. I mean, I love the idea of like a nice rare sirloin juice.
Mike, we have to sit very closely together to use this microphone. You know,
Grill.
they're talking in that tone of voice like
I
really
just
worries me.
love the feeling of like pushing a steak knife through a nice, rare steak. Like the.
But you know, guys, I think we touched on this before, maybe months ago. Poland is not a really big beef culture like Ireland. It's more of a pork culture, right? So maybe being critical of beef doesn't have political consequences here like it would
Nobody
elsewhere.
really cares, though. Like the whole like vegan, weird leftist kind of group has really exploded in the last 2 years. I don't know where it's come from. I don't know if it's exploded or if just they've been getting more media attention, because these topics about climate change, about cutting back on meat consumption, veganism, all these culture wars things, they've just really become a hot topic lately. And I'd argue, actually, yes, this is a pork culture here, but the beef in Poland is actually quite good as well, just because they kind of like just let the cows roam because nobody really cares too much. And, that's actually some of the best meat you can get then.
Look, people aren't going to stop eating less beef. Well, if you did any of these measures, all that would happen is the EU would import more beef, And then my question is, well, then we're just basically essentially comparing production methodologies around the world, and I'll take the EU's any day of the week.
Good point.
I mean, that's basically what happens. Like when they say cut down on carbon emissions and they're closing down like steel factories here, what happens? You end up buying steel abroad.
Exactly.
You outsource it to the third world.
Yeah.
So
China will be happy to make whatever we won't make for
we're
ourselves.
hurting ourselves economically while not actually solving the problem that we claim is there that we need to work on.
Putting the world to rights, we are.
One more thing to talk about this week. Very interesting story. Got some play in social media. The Krakow police, well, actually not only, there's a European arrest warrant. So it's, continent wide. We're looking for a criminal, a hardened criminal, part of the Krakow football hooligan criminal underground, wanted for involvement in distribution of drugs, narcotics, other dodgy stuff.
Money laundering.
Money laundering. It's really serious. But Dr. Mike, the mugshot of this particular criminal, a little bit different than what we expect.
Yeah, it's more of a glamour shot. It's the kind of thing that you get sent at 3 a.m. as spam mail. It's like, click on me. I'd love to meet you.
I have no idea what
And you click, don't you? I know you do.
It's this green-eyed, blonde-haired girl, quite attractive, and it turns out that she was the partner of the head of the Cracovia kind of hooligans team who got shot in 2017, but she was the one involved with the actual finances, all the money laundering. She knew everything was.
Magdalena Kralka.
Yes, and she took over.
It's about 172 centimeters tall and a slim figure.
Slim, lean figure, blonde hair.
She's
green
fit.
eyes. Yeah, it's like, you wouldn't say no. It's like the comments online are hilarious.
I hope your missus doesn't listen to this. I know mine doesn't care.
Actually,
she never listens.
my wife is the one actually that pointed out the comments underneath some of these posts, basically saying like, "Oh, I'd love to do 5 to 10 with her." It's like, "Oh, the police are looking for a woman like that. So am I." It's like, so she's definitely gotten a lot.
So there's
of
a European arrest warrant been issued for Ms. Kralka, who's accused of what? Like kind of coordinating the payments.
She's basically the head of an organized mob.
It's a drug importation ring, wasn't it?
They brought in from Spain cocaine, marijuana, tens of kilograms, and spread it around lower southern Poland. And
there has to be a huge growth of drug sales in Poland in the last 10 years. Somebody must be making a lot of money, like somewhere. I mean, disposable income.
And you've been here for about 10 years, so that lines up.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, there must be some of these large criminal networks. You don't hear too much about them in Krakow. Like, it always seems to be linked to the football clubs, obliquely somehow.
Well, the football clubs basically are just a cover for the drug mafia here. It's like, Wisła Cracovia. That's basically what that's why Wisła's falling apart, because they were too busy, caring about prostitution and drugs and not really caring about the team.
Not much more to say about this, really, is there? You got in for us, Josh, on this one?
No.
It's just funny how, if the guy were the usual, big musclehead type, the story would have died immediately.
Says the KrakCast who've decided to cover it as an item this week. Yeah.
Well, I just want to mention this one thing.
You put a pretty girl on any story and it gets more play.
I just want to say this: if any of our listeners are out there partying over the weekend and they find a blonde girl attractive and she asks, "Hey, can I crash your place for a while?" Just remember, this might cost you 5 to 10 years.
Good advice, Dr. Mike. Thanks. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the KrakCast
What about
News.
this thing about Metallica playing a Polish song? I thought this was such a cool story. Every time they come Metallica, they learn a Polish
Can I just say,
rock song.
did you not hear what I just said? Thanks for listening.
What, you think I'd listen to you?
Bye. Yeah, is anybody listening? We're like 30 minutes deep into this thing. Nobody says, okay, here's my take on the Metallica thing. If we have to talk about this, here's my take. I'm in the minority. I don't think it's a big deal. They do this at every concert. They did this in Krakow 14 months ago. Everybody goes, oh, they're playing our songs. They do this every night of the tour.
Yeah, but
this
it's
is
a
nothing
nice touch.
special.
That means they have to learn a song from each country.
Okay.
There's a lot of extra
Okay, maybe.
They
But
read it off phonetically.
I have to play a card here. I have to play
Cynics.
I have to play a
I
cynic.
don't even like Metallica.
I have to play a
and I'm gonna
cynical
give them
card.
props.
I have to play an
lost their
asshole
master.
card. I have to play whatever. Okay, Metallica is a corporation. Right, the Rolling Stones are a corporation.
If you were
Guns
in
N'
a-
Roses are a corporation.
If you were in a successful band,
Right.
you would never sell out to the man.
No, wait. This is a huge money operation coming to your city. I'm not impressed when they do that. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I know I'm the minority. I'm the tiny minority
It's
on
not when
this.
you see that band
I
show up.
don't
I remember, like,
care.
I saw Green Day. It's like they took out the Polish flag. Everybody's
Yeah, they do this.
cheering.
They wear the
Hello!
local.
And
They wear
read
the
the
local
charts.
sports
Katowice.
team's jersey.
Yeah.
They do. Who cares? This is a gag they
Shut
play
up and play
every
the music,
single
damn it.
night. And again, they did it in Krakow 14 months ago when they played here at the Toronto Arena.
Let's rock Shelbyville.
And and all right, quick. Since you brought it up, Dave, quick anecdote. I saw Metallica. I have to play this card. I saw Metallica in 1989.
Hold on a
I guess
second,
it was.
Before the Black Album,
wait a
they were
second.
actually
So you're a
doing
big Metallica fan as well.
I used to be.
Oh,
Black
before
Album.
I used to be a fan of a lot of bands
Before
before
they
they
sold
turned
out
into
to
a
the
corporation.
man.
Yeah, I saw Metallica in 1980.
Like Kiss, for example.
And this is just Kiss, for
He
example.
never pretended to be anything
Would
but a
you
corporation.
shut up? So anyway, this happens to combine two things: the corporate thing and the every city, no city is special thing, and the Metallica. Anyway, I saw Metallica
No
in
city left behind.
And can I get to my story? And I saw Metallica in Atlanta, Lakewood Amphitheater, and the opening band was. The Cult, Firewoman and Ian Astbury and whatnot. So they come out, they do their song, they finish the opening song, and Ian Astbury, high off, completely blasted out of his mind, I'm sure. He says to the crowd, he goes, "Hello, Cincinnati," and there's this weird silence, and you see him kind of look off stage and put his hand to his
Or
ear,
something.
and he comes back and he goes, "Atlanta." That's how when you tour for a living and when you do this for
At
decades.
least it's in the right time zone.
Metallica's been doing this for 40 years. How special do you think this evening was for them? It wasn't at all. Sorry. Oh, what a black pill I am. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you really are. I've always said this.
You brought it up.
Even shit you
brought it
love,
up.
you do nothing but complain about.
I wanted to end the show.
said
You
to
had
me
to
the
mention
other week,
Metallica.
I just can't listen to Led Zeppelin anymore.
No.
I'm so over them.
I'm not over Led
don't
Zeppelin.
say it out loud,
But
even if
with
you think
bands,
it.
People get emotionally invested and what. But they've been doing this for decades. If you saw Metallica in 1984 at some club, okay, great. But in 2019 in Warsaw, these guys are multi-millionaires.
So what?
So what? Do you really think they want to play? Josh, jump in.
So is
Josh,
Mo
jump in.
Salah, but he scores a hat-trick today. I'm
Josh,
still
let me
gonna
ask you.
cheer.
You're a Rolling Stones fan, but do you think when it's time to play Satisfaction for the billionth time at one of their shows, do you think they're really emotionally invested in it?
No, not in the
Of course they're
slightest.
not. Of course they're not.
Yeah, there's always one or two
They're
of those
going through the
songs.
motions, and that's what Metallica did. They went through the motions. There's a production plan. Every minute is scheduled.
All right,
and
Jesus,
planned
wrap
out.
it up for once.
I tried to do that. I tried to
All
do
right,
exactly
okay, you've
that.
convinced me.
Finally, John got pulled in.
Actually, I think, the Rolling Stones played Warsaw in, 1964, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm gonna say
And then
that.
again, like in 2008, was it last year or 2 years ago? They were back at the National Stage. I think 2 years ago,
I'm
maybe.
with you, Josh. Let It Play is the best one. Don't forget the silver, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it finally? Okay. All right. See you next week on the news. Bye.